Okay, so over here we're looking at the small intestine and large intestine and the lining of it. And so the histology and the tunics that we'd learned about in the stomach prior to this will also be found in their general form in this model here, which is the layering. So if you watch the stomach tunics first, the model we just did, and you keep in mind that we have each of those layers represented here as well. Overall, we have the mucosa lining all the way down to this muscularis mucosa layer. So this is the mucosa. This would be submucosa here. Then down here we have two layers instead of three like we had in the stomach. We have two layers of the muscularis externa, and then the most superficial layer on the surface of the intestines down here would be, of course, the serous membrane or the visceral peritoneum. So as we in the area of the small intestine, modifications occur, so we no longer have those gastric rugae and the gastric pits and glands that we were discussing on the other video. Now it gives rise to villi, right? And so these villi are finger-like projections, and these intestinal crypts that we see here have replaced the 6 different types of cells that we saw in the stomach. The cells that line this area, because its primary function would be for absorption of nutrients from the food that's being broken down, would be simple. Basically, the lining would be simple columnar, and goblet cell number would increase. Each of these would be goblet cells. And so an enhancement that we would see, or an adaptation, a modification we would see in the small intestine would be a brush border, or thousands more fingers like this large one on the surface of this one finger are called microvilli, or a brush border. That's to enhance absorptive surface area and increase absorption of those nutrients throughout the duodenum, jejunum, and ileum. So modifications would include, one, the brush border, and two, the goblets now that aren't really protected but are reducing surface tension as you dry the waste out and move it through the tube. In the middle of the villus, in the mucosal layer, we would have a lacteal. This lacteal is for absorption of digested or partly digested lipids. Those lipids will be absorbed and then sent into Peyer's patches or lymph nodes like you see here, and then sent from the lymphatic system into the bloodstream and utilized in that way. Then we have around that lacteal, we have a capillary plexus that's going to be absorbing what's absorbed through this outer tube that is the lumen of the GI tract. All right, supporting this structure would be, of course, the lamina propria and the muscularis mucosa that we saw, just like that, this right here in the stomach. And then down below we have the submucosal layer, and so the submucosa and these yellow nerves branches would be the submucosal plexus, innervating everything from here into the lumen. This would be a Peyer's patch, a lymph node, as we've already said, and it's associated with lacteal function. And then over here we have what's referred to as a Brunner's gland, and the ducts of that gland, and the Brunner's gland would help in the function of the pancreas and produce bicarbonate to buffer the acid chymes, low pH, as it enters into this small intestinal area. This would be generally the only area that would have Brunner's glands producing bicarbonate, so that the pH can quickly be brought back up and cells can survive. This blood vessel that's coming into this actual area would be off, since it's in the small intestine here, would have to be from the superior mesenteric artery, and the one coming to the stomach would be the gastric off of the celiac trunk. And likewise with the blood vessels leaving, the vein is the superior mesenteric vein that is a part of the hepatic portal system. We'll talk about that later on. So the submucosa has a number of modifications that help with absorption and specialization in the small intestine. Goblet number would increase as you move through it towards the colon, and you'd only have 2 layers of muscles in the muscularis externa instead of the 3 that we saw churning in the stomach and an added oblique layer. All we have is a circular layer that's the inner layer, a myenteric plexus that innervates the 2, and the longitudinal layer of muscle that's most superficial. Beneath that, you would find, of course, a layer of adipose and areolar connective tissue, and of course you would also find the serous membrane here, and innervating this layer between the longitudinal layer of the muscularis externa and the outer surface, you'd have the visceral peritoneum, mesothelium, or simple squamous epithelia that protects it, and the subserous plexus of nerves that are present to innervate it.